and Aaron Baer joins us now to talk more about the FACE Act. He is the president of the Center for Christian Virtue. Great to have you here with us.
Great to be with you.
So what was your reaction when you heard that President Trump pardoned the pro-lifers that were in prison, and also them being imprisoned in the first place?
Yeah, really it was a day of celebration, and that's where my heart and mind went to first, was the people that got the pardons in the first place, and their families of what roller coaster they've been going through over the last few years. But I really started thinking about the chilling effect that the way the Biden DOJ had gone about enforcing the FACE Act against pro-lifers, and actually the lives that were lost because of that. We talk a lot about free speech and how the government can really disincentivize free speech and threaten people by curbing it. And immediately the way the DOJ went about targeting these pro-lifers in an unequal way, how many folks didn't go out and pray outside of an abortion clinic or didn't reach out because they were afraid they'd be next?
Yeah, really from the moment that the election was called in favor of Donald Trump coming in now as the 47th president, there was a certain expectation on the part of the pro-life movement. Did that pressure really play a role in that expectation?
Well, I'd say yes and no, right? Certainly, I don't know if it's as much the pressure that played a role, but the highlighting it, keeping it front and center, the fact that we didn't let this go. I mean, we have to be honest. There were a lot of issues that the Trump administration was coming in saying we need to fix, and there were a lot of things getting highlighted. And it's easy for something like this to get overlooked, right? This is why the March for Life is so important, that we have this sort of tent peg in the ground every single year and say we have to talk about this. We have to remember the children who are losing their lives, and we have to stand up for pro-lifers that are doing and celebrate pro-lifers that are doing great work. And so by all means, I think what really happened is we helped keep this issue front and center. But I think that the Trump administration was really clear they were going to right the wrongs of the Biden DOJ when they came in. And they were doing this across the board right now.
Yeah, and Senator Lee just introduced a bill yesterday to repeal the FACE Act. Where do you think that's going to go?
It's going to be hard to do that, but I think it's a long time for this to be done because first and foremost, it is just, I think it's unconstitutional on its face. We see these types of things pop up all the times where they're trying to, whether it's a buffer zone law or other types of laws, try to curb the rights of individuals to express themselves. So that's going to be an uphill battle, but we need to get it done because it's for far too long. It's too easy to manipulate this law to really inflict your political agenda.
Yeah, we all hope that this is not an issue that becomes political or that is political because it affects so many. But the reality is that many Democrats are highly critical of Republicans and argue that, no, the Justice Department targeting these pro-life activists, that this is the nonviolent protesters.
Yeah, and this is just the nonsense you're seeing from people who are defending the FACE Act and really from the Biden DOJ. One, you saw, there's no doubt, Aaron Hawley at Alliance Defend Freedom gave great testimony on this and on the unequal application of law under the FACE Act, under the Biden DOJ. And that's the problem when you start putting these specific speech restrictions in different areas. You're going to open up the door for that. At the end of the day, violent threats, violence, all of those types of things, intimidation, those things are illegal. You can't do that. But standing outside an abortion clinic and praying, singing hymns, engaging in conversation, peaceful conversation, that's all legal. And things like FACE Act just open the door for this type of unequal treatment.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing, to think that would even happen. Aaron, have other administrations, other presidents used the FACE Act against pro-lifers in the past?
Yeah, what you really see with this in particular, when you're looking at how the FACE Act has been applied, by all means, you see the Clinton administration was looking at using this in a similar way. But what I've seen more broadly on this is local law enforcement. When I was in Phoenix, Arizona, we saw this of local law enforcement saying, hey, you can't be out here because of the FACE Act, right? And again, that's just the chilling speech. So even if they don't get to that actual prosecution, they use this to bully and intimidate pro-lifers from trying to save lives.
Well, you mentioned President Clinton. This is a law that goes back to his time.
Yes.
What exactly is the FACE Act for people who may not be that familiar with it?
Yeah, so the FACE Act is the Freedom of Access of Clinic Entrance Act. And, Chuck Schumer was a big champion of this, and really it did three things in particular. But broadly, it said you can't intimidate or stop people from entering a reproductive health center. They also threw in, they used reproductive health center broadly at the time, so they tried to say, hey, we're also protecting pregnancy centers. And they also talk about churches and places of worship. But then you look at how it's actually been applied, and it's almost always going after pro-lifers outside abortion clinics. You had churches, especially after the Dobbs case, that had vans driven into their vestibules and all types of, the Jane's Revenge folks showing up and vandalizing clinics and saying, that if abortion's not safe, neither are you. These folks weren't prosecuted in many cases, or if they were prosecuted, they got less penalties than the grandmothers praying outside abortion clinics. And that's the problem with any of these laws, like FACE Act. They try to specifically target certain speech that just open up the doors for selective enforcement.
Yeah, and we've seen in other countries too. It's not just happening here. Over in the UK, people just being arrested for silently praying.
Right.
Do you think that's something that could potentially or happen here?
No, I mean, again, that's absolutely the direction these things go. When you look at Canada, you look at the UK, you look at these Western countries, and when you start to chip away at the freedom of speech and you start to add caveats to the freedom of religion, you can see how these things play out. And it's why we have to stand strong on broad protections for speech, even speech we don't like, so that the government can't be weaponized against us.
And even the risk of thought crime.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly right. And those are the types of things that are very realistic. I think for a lot of us over the last 10 to 20 years, we'd say, oh, that can never happen here. But quite frankly, things like what you're saying with the enforcement of the FACE Act, even some of the trans things, people are like, oh, this can happen here in America.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.